What's up guys, Philip at Trade Genius. In this video I wanted to discuss all the big headlines that we got coming out in regards to like the institutional grade investments into this crypto space. A lot of headlines, I think bigger headlines than what we saw in the run up to 2017, and how that affects Bitcoin price. We know the price is going sideways, so what's going on there? Well, I'm going to discuss something that you guys should be aware of that will probably create a delayed reaction, but a good reaction in the price of Bitcoin. So let's dive into this video and check it out.
Trade Genius.
Guys, really briefly, I'm just showing you kind of raw here on the 4-hour chart, our DTMM, and this is with the setting of 50-15, but it does a really good job. Now, no indicator is going to be perfect, but this one does a really good job, I think, of hitting the cycle tops. You got long entries here. There's multiple arrows here, but you kind of focus on the first one. So you got entry there, one here that would be a fairly tight stop. But one thing I like about these is it doesn't require a large stop, and so the risk reward is pretty good. So you get stopped out here. But you get a heads up, and this is either exit a position or go short depending on your expertise. But then you get another long signal here and then a short signal here. Not drawing these arrows, these come off the DTMM. See, that's the DTMM indicator. So this is just what's going on. We got a sell up here at 66.32. Now it's telling us we got a long signal here at 65.17. So guys, this is going to be part of what you get when you get these packages. Ask for the DTMM indicator when you sign up. Our October specials are still running, and again, very active room, signals every day across the board on stuff. I've been showing you our crypto entries; those have been doing really well, so I encourage you guys to check that out. All right, so as far as the different news that we've been getting on Bitcoin and stuff like that, I wanted to just kind of run through the different things, real quickly. So the first one I want to talk about is Yale. They invest in a crypto fund that raised $400 million. If you scroll down and notice, Yale, whose nearly $30 billion endowment is headed by David Swensen, is among the few large institutions to invest in the cryptocurrency market, which has tumbled this year after a stunning rally in 2017. So they're kind of the early, as far as big institutional investors saying, hey, we're going in, right? They are one of the early ones. David Swensen, now Michael Novogratz, who's a fairly well-known fund investor in crypto, he says this is really big news. David Swensen is the most influential investor in the world by making this investment. He just said that Bitcoin is a store of value. He is the alpha bull of the herd. All right, so he thinks that this is basically what you have are people from the old guard now coming in saying this is a legit asset class. TD Ameritrade, now they are investing in a crypto exchange. So here you have legacy companies in what are normally just dealing with traditional asset classes, stocks, bonds, ETFs, options, and now they're starting to turn their attention toward crypto. TD Ameritrade going in and investing in a crypto exchange. Let's take a look at the news on Gemini. So Gemini now is insured, got assets insured. So now we've got Coinbase, Gemini, there's a couple others that have insurance on assets. This is the custodian solution. This is, the more you see of this, it's bullish because it's going to allow more options for these funds to insure their assets. That's a big deal with them. Who's in charge of the assets. Now you can insure those assets, then obviously it makes it that much easier for the fund to say, okay, well that problem solved, we're investing. So these are all things that are clearing the roadway for large amounts of money. When the floodgates open, they're not going to close. The Bitcoin, you're going to wake up one day and Bitcoin's going to be up $1,000 and it's not coming back down, and that's what's going to happen. So I think another positive thing here is the SEC files multiple amendments related to Bitcoin ETFs, paving the way for an approval. They originally had knocked down a lot of these other Bitcoin ETFs that were separate from the CBOE Van Eck ETF, which is the big one that everybody's really pinning their hopes on as far as getting approved. But there was Granite shares, Pro shares, and Direxion Daily Bitcoin shares. And all of these basically were knocked down, but then they rolled that back and they made an amendment to the proposed rule change. So they're open to comments and open to interpretation. There's members on the SEC board or commission that have said favorable things about these ETFs getting approved, and maybe that they need to rethink their stance. So a lot of people consider this pretty bullish in that we might see more than just one ETF approval, although more than likely for sure we're looking probably first quarter 2019 for the CBOE approval. So that's pretty bullish. All right, so why isn't price going anywhere? I mean, we've been largely sideways for the last month. So what's going on? Well, it was interesting. Nasdaq.com came out with an article, and they were talking about how the Bitcoin over-the-counter market is 3 times larger than the exchange market, whereas the global market processes around $4 billion worth of Bitcoin trades per day. They think the OTC market processes $12 billion worth of trades daily. That's really big. And so what's happening in that situation is you're taking supply out of the ecosystem. People are getting Bitcoin and for a long-term position. So I think a lot of people have done the math and they see that there's a finite amount of this stuff and it's being identified as a new store of value, gold 2.0, if you will. So what's going to happen is that's not going to be reflected on the exchange, because if you go on the exchange, what's going to happen is what you're going to have price. If you wanted to get 1,000 Bitcoin, for example, you're going to spike price a couple $100. Okay, so and some of these guys may be accumulating more than that, but the point being is that they can settle on a price over the counter and not affect the market. And that's what they want to do. That's a lot of times they want to accumulate, not affect the market, not let the market do its thing on the exchanges. But large purchases, they just don't like to do that. They'd rather do it over the counter. So and what happens is that when you take that supply out of the ecosystem, you're looking at right now. If you look at the entire ladder on Coinbase Pro, you're looking at over 9,000 on the entire ladder, 9,000 Bitcoin on the buy side. On the sell side, you're looking at roughly 3,447 or so. Okay, so that's everything on the ladder. So if what ends up happening is over time, if you were to go back in time and look at some of the older exchanges, the amounts here would be in the tens of thousands. Sell walls, local sell walls would have been in the thousands. Now, you zoom in on local sell walls, look at here, 140 on this side, a little under 140 on this side. Those used to be in the thousands, but you see what's happening is that, people are accumulating Bitcoin. So, these sell walls will be, 10s to 20s at some point, because there's just not enough Bitcoin to go around. Obviously, the price is going to be a lot higher in that situation, but that's how this has been going, and at some point, supply is going to dwindle down. Yes, there's going to be a lot of selling back and forth and stuff, but by and large, store value, you're going to have a large run of this stuff, and it's going to go way up in value. Is there going to be a lot of volatility? Yes, but you're not going to see the immediate impacts of over-the-counter activity until later. When these guys get all positioned, and then all of a sudden the equilibrium of buyers and sellers shifts, but now all of a sudden, there's not as much supply as there was even a year ago on the markets, and that's going to drive things higher. So anyway, food for thought there, guys. A lot of activity coming into the space, not exactly reflected on the exchanges that we're used to, but over-the-counter stuff is really going to be, I think, a big positive, but a delayed positive. So we'll start seeing the effects on the next start of our leg up into 2019, 2020. All right, guys. Well, that's my thoughts on this. Very bullish scenario, I think, for Bitcoin. Again, on the daily chart, we'll look at that later in the week. But I think you're going to see that we're at a decent spot for getting in longer term. So we'll check that out. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe if you're on mobile. Ring that bell. And I will see you on tomorrow's video. Take care, guys. Bye.
Trade Genius.